What's going on? Hello, hello. It's been a minute. Hey man, happy birthday. Alan, thank you very much for the sub. Wyatt Meister, how old are we now? 2,000 years old? Are you killing other Highlanders to stay alive? Be honest. What's going on, Nathan? Kilgore, hello. Hello. Not much, man. I am, let me spin this around here. Let's go the other way, shall we? There we go. Much better. Just been traveling a lot, wrestling a lot. Been very busy. But no complaints. Just been on the road quite a bit. Quite a bit. Yeah, Circle 6 Wrestling against RSP, Kilgore. We did a hardcore match. I think that was the first time there has been a wrestling show inside the temple in Cleveland since ECW got kicked out of there, like 20 years ago, maybe even longer than that. I came down to the ring to a song called "The Zoo" by the Scorpions, which was Mike Awesome's theme music for a long time, as a tribute to him, and I actually got Judge Jeff Jones's blessing to do that. I'm very old-fashioned, and I like to ask, so that was pretty cool. And it had to be a no DQ match. It's just the way it had to be. Alan was saying that he had a fake Scarlet follow him on Twitter the other day. Went and blocked them already. Would be cool if the real Scarlet or you or both followed me, but fakes ain't cool. Yeah, there's a lot of catfishing stuff that goes out there. I don't get that. That's really weird to me. I guess they're trying to scam you guys or something, you know, parody accounts or something. That's fucking weird. That's fucking weird. Arvin wanted to know, have you ever tried a fasting diet? I'm just gonna put this out there for tonight. I'm just gonna take any questions you guys have, whether it's about physical health, mental health, wrestling. I think we'll use this hour just to answer questions. Anything you guys wanna ask me, I'm gonna be an open book tonight. That's the place I'm in, that's the mood I'm in today. So starting with your question about the fasting diet, I generally do intermittent fasting and I've done it for several years. I don't do it for aesthetic purposes. I don't do it to stay lean. I literally do it because I feel good doing it. I don't get actually hungry until about 3 or 4 hours after I wake up. I'm not even craving food. I'll drink water, coffee. Sometimes I'll have some coconut oil, but I'm not hungry. And my body's wired that way now. I was like that when I was a kid. I hated breakfast. I didn't want to fucking eat. And there's a lot of benefits that are out there pertaining to intermittent fasting for people that are unaware of it. I mean, what happens is, like, let's say your last meal is at 8 p.m. and you go to bed at 10. From your last meal to the time you wake up, let's say you get up at, let's say you go to bed at 10 p.m., let's say you get up at 10 a.m., Okay? Let's just say you fucking slept 12 hours. That would be considered an intermittent fasting window where you're not eating. They say to get the real benefits of intermittent fasting, you should be looking at 12 to 15 hours or plus of not consuming food, not consuming calories. So you can have water, you can have coffee, you just can't have any calories. And basically what that allows your body to do is to go into a state of a process called autophagy. And autophagy is basically something that your body does to recycle out dead cells, break down and metabolize anything that happens to be in your body that needs to exit. It also has a lot of anti-inflammatory benefits as well. And you know, you have, depending on what you eat, how often you eat, you know, that could take a long time. Your body could take a long time to break that down, especially too if you're dehydrated. Being hydrated helps the process of actually breaking down food and metabolizing it for energy. The more basic the foods you eat, like a paleo diet where it's all whole foods, your body breaks that food down pretty quick. But if you're eating processed stuff, that takes a long time to break down. Sometimes that can sit and rot in your gut for weeks. It's not good. But that typically is not happening with whole foods unless something's wrong with you. So intermittent fasting, very big fan. AC killing it, hello? Yeah, my hair is all fucking wild. It's all crazy. I got very curly hair. I can do a lot of different things with my hair. It's fucking Macho Man running wild tonight. E-Page 1981 says, nice to finally meet you in Indy a few weeks ago. Indianapolis, lost 10 more pounds since we talked last. That is fucking awesome. This has been pretty cool. And I've said this, I think, now every time I've been on here. I'm meeting new people every single week that are watching the stream that are losing weight. Honestly, kudos to all of you. And I'm flattered and honestly very happy that any sort of information that I could bring to your attention can help you. Losing weight and improving your health literally is adding time onto your life. So if I have the ability to entertain you and you can have a good time and escape this shit that we need to get away from for a little bit every once in a while, plus I can do this, that's a fucking home run for me. So again, man, congratulations. And you know, every pound we can keep off is a W. Did the Joey Janela match in Brooklyn was a lot of fun. I had to get the kids involved. I don't know if you guys saw that. Got a pack of kids in the audience to beat the shit out of Janela. That's important stuff, man. I remember wrestlers fighting in front of me when I was little. And being that up close as a kid when you're at a wrestling show, you remember that for the rest of your life. So it's important to take extra special care of fans like that. A little bit of extra attention, you know? They'll remember that forever. Cookie Monster wants to know, you're going to be with her when she comes to Squareside. I don't know what you're talking about. If you give me more details, I could probably answer that question. I don't know what that is. And who's she? I don't know who that is. Scarlett? Christian wants to know, when did you start wrestling? 2014 was the year I began wrestling. I just celebrated, well, I didn't celebrate, but I just had my 8-year anniversary, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. That was 8 years for me. So I started about 8 years ago at Future Stars of Wrestling. It's a professional wrestling academy in Las Vegas. It's still there. It's produced quite a few stars, actually. Chris Bay is another one, who's with New Japan right now, a very good friend of mine. But yeah, that's where I started. Good times. Peter Crawford wants to know, I've been shy to ask this because I didn't want to feel different, but do you ever, or had days where you felt like stopping being a wrestler and pursuing your dreams? What kept you from not giving up? Because I feel like some days like that about my career choice as a photographer. I can't say that I actually wanted to stop altogether, but what's really brutal about trying to find a way to make your passion your job is that if you get a chance to do that, first of all, you know what I mean? You still might be working for somebody. So although you love photography, you might be taking pictures of things that you don't want to take pictures of. And not everyone who's not an artist will understand how fucking soul killing that is. You know, maybe you're somewhere on a day that you don't feel like doing photography, and you could become confused with that feeling and think that you don't like photography anymore. But really, it's just sort of a thing that you have to sit with for a little while and realize that was just not the day you should have been taking pictures. Your heart, your eye, your soul wasn't in your camera that day. Maybe you didn't like the work, you know, on the post edits that you had. And then it just, you know, it's hard sometimes to identify what's really bothering us when it comes down to falling out of love with something that we're doing. It's not like we want to fall out of love with it, but sometimes a series of things happen where it kind of muddies the water. I've definitely had days where I went to work to perform for you guys, and because of a series of other things, not the work itself, I really did not want to be there. I never phoned it in, and I always gave 110%, even the times I didn't want to be there. I had family in the hospital. They were dying. At one time, I got a call from my mother that we may have to go see my grandfather when he was fighting through cancer, because they didn't think he was going to be alive for another 48 hours. I looked at that text message actually, and then I called her 20 minutes before the curtain. I can't even put into words what that did to me. Stuff like that can make you feel like you don't want to do anything anymore, you know? But what I would try to do, if I were you, is I would think about the circumstances around photography. I would think about what it is about the circumstances that's not making you want to be a photographer anymore, not the actual photography itself, and see if you can find anything there. Because I can tell you, I'm always going to love professional wrestling. I've been able to identify that it is my passion, but you know, there are things about this business, and every wrestler, if they're willing to be honest with you, will tell you. There are people that you intercept, and circumstances and scenarios that you feel like are out of your control that make you want to not fucking do this anymore. But you just need to be able to kind of remove yourself from the situation and observe it subjectively, and kind of try to pick apart what it is within that is making you feel that way. I hope that helped. Prop, thank you very much for the sub. Good to know you're here. Ninja Skittles, what's going on? Thank you for the sub. Arvin's taking zinc now? Good man. That's a very, very important mineral to have in your system, especially for the immune system. You'd be fucking surprised. Maybe you are. Kilbur wants to know, how does it go when you lay out a hardcore match? I would imagine you would want to be aware of whatever would be used during the match beforehand. I'm sure you wouldn't have a problem cutting someone off if they were going to use something or try something you weren't cool with. I won't kill the magic and explain what you're asking, and you wouldn't know this, but you'd be happy afterwards if I told you. You'd wish I didn't tell you. Let's put it that way. But I will tell you, when I was in AAA and I was in Mexico, for those of you who didn't know, I wrestled in Mexico for over 3 years. Loved it. It's fucking awesome. Sometimes very dangerous, depending on which towns you were traveling through and what was going on with shit going on. I don't even want to say. The shows themselves, wonderful, amazing crowd, some of the best audiences in the world, but you know, there's like shit going on there sometimes, depending on where you are. So traveling from the airport to the show, you know, you hope that you don't run into people that you wouldn't typically want to be running into. But when I was out there, there was a lot of hardcore matches. Sometimes the canvas in the area wasn't cleaned properly after hardcore matches with thumbtacks and glass and all kinds of shit. That sucked. Sometimes you wind up, you know, you'd be pulling stuff out of your back, not knowing where the fuck that came from. Splinters and shit, from tables exploding, you name it. But a couple times, and I won't say who because I don't think they meant it maliciously, but people would try to hit me with shit, like in the face or in the head by surprise. And that's just not something that you surprise people with. So to put it politely, I made sure that they didn't do that anymore. And you can interpret that however you like. And I never ever had to deal with that problem ever again. Getting a lot of compliments in the hair. Thanks a lot. Thank you. When I had the goatee here on the chin and everything else is clean shaved, I look like a Frank Mir clone. Majesty wants to know, will Mom be joining us this evening? Probably not. We are cleaning, getting the house ready, doing chores, normal human shit that needs to be done. She's exhausted, and yeah, we're doing all the normal human shit. She's probably winding down. What's going on, Clarence? Hang in there, man. I see you. Sandman wants to know, are we going to see you pop up in GCW anytime soon? I loved my time in GCW. It was very short because I got signed to television, but I always loved working for Brett and being a part of that locker room with everybody. I still talk to all those guys. If I was offered a good story, then I would 100%, I'd 100% go there and love to perform for you guys under that setting. But like, I don't think this is gonna come to you guys as a surprise, what I'm about to say, but where I'm at in my career, you know, I told you I've been doing this for 8 years. I chased this shit relentlessly. Like, most guys were only working once or twice a month when they first got started. On average, I was wrestling 2 to 4 times a week for 8 years. And that's not normal for people starting out. I was told by a lot of people that were years ahead of me, self-made millionaires in this business, they said that I had all this potential, and the one thing that was gonna be working against me, ironically, was time. Because they said that I was gonna get picked up by major, you know, commercialized companies, and there's people in the business that they probably wanna put me in the ring with that were 20 years deep. And they felt bad for me because they said that I had the IQ to do this and the creativity to do this and the body to do this, but like having to catch up to someone with 20 years on you is like almost fucking impossible. But I didn't let that discourage me. I tried to get booked as much as I possibly could, and I tried to be in front of you guys, because training in a fucking school is not the same thing as working live. It can't be replicated. You know, I put myself on fast forward, and I made the sacrifices that I had to make, and just right now where I'm at, like I won all these awards at the beginning of my career: Best Wrestler of the Year, Favorite Wrestler of the Year, Best Match of the Year, all of this fucking stuff. And honestly, I thought I was gonna feel really accomplished when I won all those awards early on in my independent career, and I really didn't. I thought I was gonna be like, whoa, I fucking did it. And then like once you win the award, my couple days go by and I was like, okay, what's next? And next year, nobody fucking remembers. Nobody really cares. Like this was like, I was voted for this stuff, which I was very flattered and I appreciated it. To be in categories with other people, all the people that like fans see, all the wrestlers fans see, and they chose me, I really appreciated it. I was aiming for that. But it didn't make me feel any more fulfilled with being a performer for you guys. What made me feel really fulfilled was building a fucking story for months and creating that blow off moment where, you know, the accumulation, the climax of this moment. That's really what I really, really enjoy, is creating intense, insane fucking things that you guys cannot see anywhere else other than a wrestling show. Shows that matter. You don't want to miss a fucking show because you don't want to drop off from where the story is building to. I want to create stuff like that for you guys. That's where I've always been at. Character work, story building, long-term booking. I've always been interested in that. So I don't mind doing cold matches. I don't mind showing up to new towns and new cities and working, especially if I'm interested in working with the individual. I don't mind that, but if we're being honest, like, you know, whether it's GCW or AEW or wherever, I want to be creating something for you guys in that realm. I'm less interested in one-offs and more interested in creating that type of stuff for you, because I feel like that's where the most entertaining aspects of pro wrestling really come from anyways. And I feel like I have a very unique mind for what's missing and also what people are looking for in their programming, if I'm permitted to create that for you. So it's the expanded version answer to your question. Lost Terror. Any book recommendations? I'd recommend reading Mox's book. Very good book. What's another one? The Spartan Way. That was a book that I read when I was injured. I bought that, and it just talks about framing a certain type of ideology and philosophy to how to deal with life in a very old-fashioned way, but very practical. Very much how the Spartans would engage issues, and it's very Stoicism based, if you're familiar with Stoicism. Gemini Assassin says, still watch your match against Flip Gordon, one of my favorites since you returned to the independent wrestling scene. Thank you. Peter Crawford wants to know, have you and your wife ever thought of cosplaying as Josh and Cher from Clueless? That's your favorite movie. I don't know who that is. I think someone made me watch Clueless many years ago, but I'm drawing a blank. I can't remember who's in that or what that's about. But I know it's a famous movie. I think there was a TV show too, right? We've never thought about it. But if it seemed funny to us, maybe we'd entertain it. And Toyman87, Kevin, good to see you're streaming again tonight. been a while. Hope you and Scarlett are enjoying married life so far. Congrats, by the way. Thank you very much. We very much are. Not much has changed. We were very much like a married couple before we were married. But the ceremony and the experience and everything was exactly what we wanted it to be. So thank you again to all of you. Oh, okay. Cookie Monster. Scarlett and Squareside Collectibles had a thing saying she was going to be there. I have to double check my dates. I have stuff booked almost every single weekend until November, December, and I have a really hard time keeping track of it. I kind of don't look at what I'm doing until the week of, because it's just so difficult to retain everything. I have 3 people assisting me. Basically 3 branches of management helping me right now with multiple directions of stuff I'm working with, because I actually really need the fucking help. And that was very difficult for me to ask for that help and accept it. That was really fucking difficult. I like to be very hands-on. I don't like people representing me. I don't like people speaking on my behalf. I think I like to hear, I'm a very one-on-one person whenever I'm dealing with anyone, whether it's personally or for business and stuff like that, and I just like to be there. But I do have some people that are assisting me with deal memos and stuff like that, and speaking on my behalf and quarterbacking information to me. Thank God. So between training, traveling, having some sort of social life with family and friends, and work, it's a lot. It's a lot. In a lot of ways, it's feels like even more of a workload than when I was at WWE, because so much, believe it or not, is managed for you when you're there. I guess depending on your contract, but you know, you're told where to go and you're told what to do, and then the rest of the time throughout the week, you're a regular civilian and you should be training your ass off, because that's your job and you're being paid to be in the best shape you possibly can. But you don't have to think a lot about like really anything other than WWE. Me personally, being independent, I have my hands involved in a variety of different projects, and it's just a lot of information to retain, and I really care about all the stuff I'm doing. So being enthusiastic about 12 different things every fucking day is a little bit of a weight to carry. I'm not complaining, it's totally enjoyable, and I'm not involved with anything I don't want to be involved with, but it's just a lot. It's a lot. Wyatt Meister. So Saito suplex thumbtack bump, RSP. Whose idea was that? I can't tell you that, sir. That's information on a need-to-know basis. But if the police ask you about it, I was never there. What if this was a work, guys? You ever think about that? What if the real person was Killer Cross and Kevin was just a gimmick? How would you ever really know? Think about it. CG Riff. Cross, what's the best way to get over depression? I always feel depressed because I've had people in my life that were close to me pass away. Well, my friend, there is, I don't care what anybody fucking says, there's no magic pill for this. I don't care what anybody says. Because it is of my humble opinion that people get depressed for a million different reasons. There's a million different variables as to why people wind up getting depressed. Sure, there's parallels between people who do suffer from depression, but I think one of the first most important things is when you refer to yourself as being depressed, to really understand what that is. Like to truly understand what that is, because, and I've said this before on streams, like I feel like the word depressed gets thrown out a lot. It's become sort of it's a common word, right? And I've said before, I've had friends that suffer from depression, and it is truly very different than people who are in a deep state of grievance. People who are really fucking upset. Like, most people become really upset and it can last a long time. You know, like I compare being really genuinely upset to almost like having a cold. It's something that has to run its course, and sometimes people can, sometimes misinterpret that as being depressed. But like, I have known people in my life who have been really depressed, and there's nothing that you can do for them. They're exhausted. They'll sometimes sleep 14 to 16 hours. They have no fucking energy, no appetite. Their body starts to catabolize itself. They lose weight, like, fast. They have other health issues. They wind up suffering from migraines because they're malnourished. Like, I've seen depression in a way that, like, most people generally don't see. And if you're suffering from that, then I would, like, obviously tell you, as from one human to another, you have to see like an expert to help you set up, a regiment or some sort of to establish a pattern of things that you're going to be doing every day to help support your health, to keep you out of the worst place that depression can take you. But if you don't feel like you're there, and you just feel like you're someone who is repeatedly grieving from losing people, and you're in like a prolonged state of grievance, I mean, what I try to do is look, year 2021 and this year, I've lost more people than I can like count, from heart issues, family and friends, people having heart failure. The last year and a half has been completely fucked. Like, I don't even know how to, I've walked myself into this conversation now and I don't even know how to talk about it. So like, I guess what I'm trying to tell you is like, I can understand what you're telling me with the very little that you're telling me. It's fucking tough. It's really tough to process that. The best thing you can do is just try to take care of yourself in the way that you would hope that they would want you to take care of yourself through this. If you ever lose somebody that you really care about and that you know that they cared about you, they wouldn't want you to come undone. They wouldn't want you to drag yourself over their passing. And that's what I kind of try to keep sort of a present mind of. I try to think like, what would these people want me to be doing right now with myself? When I get into a fucking bad place thinking about all that stuff, and I get drained from thinking about it, and unmotivated and uninspired, and I kind of just want to shut down thinking about the amount of people that are gone, I just think to myself like, they'd be pretty fucking furious with me if they knew I was doing this, because they'd probably give anything to be alive right now. And it's just a matter of exercising a perspective that's going to be supportive to your health. I'm being real with you. Health hour, I can talk to you about vitamins, I can talk to you about fucking the benefits of sleep and exercise and working out. Let's be real. That shit doesn't work for everybody. It has its benefits, you know what I mean? But like, there's people online and people on TV that just want to shove all of like these Band-Aid remedies down your fucking throat and tell you that's gonna work. How would I know? Like, honestly, how would I know? How would they know? That doesn't work for everybody. That's bullshit. But at the same time, we can't allow ourselves to be consumed by grief to such a degree where it begins to destroy us. Grieving is a process I think that we all need to go through because we're human. But to stay in that place and you know it's not good for you and you're asking for help, that's a good thing. And so I would just humbly recommend to you to try to exercise perspective as to what you think they would want you to be doing with yourself, and try to do that. And I've said it before, it's sort of like a way of honoring them. you know? Seagriff, what are your thoughts on D2 vitamins? I take those when I wake up in the morning. At the beginning of 2020, I basically intercepted a variety of different medical studies that were discussing the benefits, international studies, that were discussing the benefits of D2 and D12. I'm a big believer in it. I think it's an essential vitamin people should be having. I've said this before, I like to get quarterly blood panels to see how my body is reacting to training, dieting, sleeping, stuff like that. I've been doing this for years. And before 2020, the only thing I was ever deficient in was D2. And I thought that was very weird because I had a very balanced diet. So I've been taking D2 in the morning, and I've been taking D2 and D12 in the morning and at night. I take 10,000 IUs. That's what I take. Kilgore says, I actually become a fan of your work from Glenn and Conan, talking very highly of you. Love them. It's like my uncles. They love to fuck with people online. And if you knew them, you'd see the humor in it because they're very thick-skinned. They're from another generation, very old school, funny and honest, and very self-aware. They've been looking out for me for absolutely no other reason than just because we've just always been straight and honest and authentic with each other. Have literally neither one of those guys have ever asked me for anything. They're just very cool. AJ Clark, thank you very much for the sub. Chrissy Cat, thank you for the sub. Lost Terror, hoping to see you at Forbidden Door. Technically, I'm a part of New Japan. There's a fucking million matches we could do. I guess we'll see. Nanners, thanks for jumping on tonight. It's good to be back. Prop is saying, you really got to play Elden Ring. So I have a confession. I've barely been home for the last, 5 or 6 weeks. I've been coming home to sleep and to have dinner. For very short periods over the last 6 weeks, I've played a little bit of Elden Ring just to decompress so I could stop thinking about work. I really like it. It's pretty fucking awesome. But those points where I skip through a lot of the dialogue when I run into characters because I just enjoy the gameplay, and I realize it's a bad idea because the characters that are talking to you are giving you narrative points, like they're telling you where to go to finish quests and shit. So like I'll talk to people and I'll pick up like these missions, and I don't know where the fuck to find the missions. I don't even think there's a mission page. I don't know if there is or not. But like I'm just picking up stuff and killing guys and learning the system, and sometimes you go too far before you're ready to be there and you fight these things you can't kill. There's been a couple times I've actually almost crushed the fucking remote in my hands. I've been so fucking mad. But it's very fun. It's great, yeah. It's a good fucking game. But unless I have like 2 hours to put aside, and I typically don't, I don't like to put it on. Like, it's not a game I'd want to play for an hour. I don't think I'd really accomplish or get anything done in an hour. Not really. I like to get lost into the world and find the maps, and you go into those fucking underground lairs, and there's like riddles and mazes, and then you get the sword key or something, and you open it, and the fucking invisible wall goes down. You know what I'm talking about. And then you fight the boss, and then you get a weapon or an armor or something, or some weird item that I have no idea what to do with. Maybe you give it to somebody, I don't know. But I've played it. I really like it. I really like it. I was playing with a sword and shield. I accidentally ran into, what is his name? It's some big boss with all these fucking arms and an axe. I don't know what the fuck his name is. I can't remember. But he's northeast on the map. And he's supposed to be a big deal. He's a big boss guy. If I see his name in there when you guys write it down, I'll tell you who it was. But I killed him. And he was supposed to be really hard. I didn't think he was that hard. I didn't think he was that hard at all. Gotta keep medium armor and roll out of the fucking way. And throw stuff at him. Wyatt Meister says, speaking of GCW, I've always wanted to ask, when you were wrestling on Bloodsport after your match with Nick Gage, you called out Batista. Yes, I did. Was there ever a plan for you guys to face, or you straight up calling him out for a fight? I was calling out Batista because I wanted to work with him. I really enjoyed watching him growing up, and I was really bummed out to hear that he was retiring, and I kind of didn't believe it. And I was also selfishly really pissed that I was thinking that I was never going to be able to work with him, because I would have loved to have wrestled him. And I know that he is a legit purple belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I think that him in a Bloodsport setting would be fucking awesome. So, I don't know, I was just fucking on one. And I grabbed the mic at the end of the show and I called him out, hoping he would respond. And I would have loved to have worked with him in Bloodsport, but I think he was just very fulfilled and done at that point, so that was it. Seagriff wants to know, would you ever be interested in doing work with Christian Cage or the Hardys? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've wrestled Jeff and Matt, never wrestled Christian. I'd work with any of those guys 7 days a week. They're fucking awesome. Kay the Compilator wants to know, what are your thoughts on cinematic style matches? Do you think such a style would have the tools to match your own? I expressed very strong interest with WWE to do cinematic matches. I don't know if you're familiar with my work from Lucha Underground, but we were working in that direction as well. Unfortunately, season 4 was the last season. Why there wasn't a season 5, I was never part of those conversations. I have no idea. But I would have loved to have done it. I've produced, written, directed, and acted in my own vignettes. And I think I would probably like to write, produce, and direct as well a cinematic match, should I ever do one on television. And I think it would be very, very unique in relation to anything else you guys have seen. Prop wants to know, what do you rate Multiverse of Madness? I haven't seen it yet. No spoilers. I have to fly out tomorrow, so I don't know if I'll have time to watch it, but I'm very interested in watching it. I saw the trailer, probably very much like you guys, at the end of the last Spider-Man film, and I was like, oh shit. So I'd definitely like to get into that. Hey Cross, when are you doing events of big time wrestling in the Bay Area, California? I don't know. If they contact me before June for an event, I'd probably be able to do something, but after June, that's probably going to be impossible. Juggalo Fred Durst, great name, says I liked Scarlett versus Melina. That was pretty fucking cool for me to watch. They had a good match. I liked it. Really happy to see people getting the opportunity to watch Scarlett wrestle who had no idea that she was a wrestler before WWE. She's been in the business for like 10 years. Pretty fucking cool. There's a lot of comments, a lot of things you guys are writing to each other in here when we get into a discussion, when I answer a question. Just want to put it out there, I love that. The way you guys are engaging with each other on here, I think is good for all of us. You know, I scroll down and I read everything. If someone asks me a question and you're new to this, because there's a lot of regulars on here, feel free, if you'd like to chime in, if you think you can help somebody with a question, you can write it in the box. I think having multiple perspectives is a good thing. I don't think that's ever a fucking bad thing, ever. Luke wants to know, how are you feeling? Dude, I'm really tired. I'm really fucking tired. I go pretty hard, like in general with training and just the amount of stuff that I'm engaged with. I'm generally very busy. I like to be busy. I didn't get much sleep this weekend. We did Brooklyn, and then we did Rahway, and then we flew home. And it's just a lot of energy that I'm putting out for those shows. And then before that, I was training very hard all week. I would like to try to get my brown belt in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu by the end of the year. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I'm still aiming for it. So I've been putting extra time in where I'm able to. When I'm traveling on the road, I'll go to Jiu-Jitsu schools if I can't make my local one here in Orlando. By the way, Daniel Gracie Jiu-Jitsu here in Orlando, if you live here in Orlando, it's, in my opinion, the best fucking school you can go to. The culture there is good. The energy there is good. The instructors there are very good. It's a good group of people there. No one's gonna try to like rip your arm off and be a fucking tough guy. It's a great place to learn. I've been to a couple places out here. All of them have been excellent. This place, however, is my favorite. So, yeah. I've been in the uniform, it's called a gi, for about 2 years now. Prior to that, I was doing no gi, more into catch wrestling. And I'm loving it, it's awesome. But yeah, I'm fucking tired. I like to be busy, and sometimes I don't know any better. Sometimes I need to chill the fuck out and play some Elden Ring. But I don't do that enough, I think. I don't think I do that enough for myself. But I'm good. Everything is good. I just probably need to I need to get out of fourth gear and maybe shift back to first for a little while. I think this week I'm gonna go hiking to an undisclosed area. I'm gonna bring I wanna get lost somewhere this week, somewhere fun. I'm fucking really big into nature. I like being outside. I feel like when I'm outside, I don't have things around me influencing how I'm feeling or telling me how to feel. There's no television, there's no social media. Not that this is a bad thing, but you talk to friends and you want to let your friends know that you're there, so your friends will vent and they, you know what I mean? Like, That's what we're there for each other for, right? But sometimes, like I said, I don't think I know when to fucking. Sometimes I don't have a good fucking sense of when I need to hit the reset switch. I'm gonna do it this week. Just getting out into the world the way it kind of just shapes itself, and being a part of that is really the best thing for me. So I'm gonna do that this week. Toothless 988, great name. What wrestler would you like to be in the ring with? Oh fuck, there's quite a few. Okada is at the top of the list for me right now. And Ishii would be another. I'd like a second crack at Suzuki, but with more time. Ibushi, Kota Ibushi. Shibata. It's quite a few people. A lot of people in New Japan. There's quite a few people in the Indies too. One person that came to mind right away, and I wasn't sure if I should have said it because I don't know if it's going to happen, so I don't want to spoil it, but it's nothing official. I really want to compete against Tajiri. I was a fucking huge fan of his growing up, especially his work in ECW, and I've wrestled almost every single person in ECW I've ever wanted to wrestle, and I haven't wrestled him yet. I really want to get in the ring with Tajiri, somehow, some way, somewhere. For me, for my fucking wrestling soul, that match needs to happen. Seagriff wants to know, would you be interested in working with Dexter Lumis since he got released to WWE? 100%. Sam is a very close friend of mine. He's one of the most creative people I've ever fucking met. Like, not even in wrestling, but just in general. And I think you guys are going to see some really wild shit out of him in the immediate future. I'm excited to see what he's going to show you guys, because he's been camping out on a lot of ideas and a lot of things that are not for PG television, very much like myself. So where he decides to take you guys on whatever ride that is, I'll be riding with you. And I'm sure him and I are going to be finding each other in the ring this year. Compilator says, after your match against Minoru, I think it would be really cool to see you join Suzuki-gun. You and Desperado would be a fire team. Yeah, there's a lot of people that really wanted me to do the whole Suzuki-gun thing, but problem with that, man, is Impact a long time ago tried to put me in a group with Moose and Aries, and I stood out like a sore thumb. And I'm not saying that from a pretentious or egotistical place. It's just that the character that I've cultivated and that you guys have elevated this character to be who he has become, the fans, he's not a fucking play by the rules, stand behind somebody or next to anybody type of person. It works with Scarlett because Scarlett matched his energy. Her presentation, her character was entirely different. She had a different direction she was creating things in. Sort of a tongue-in-cheek, sexy comedy, scrappy brawly type thing, you know? And she adapted to Cross's energy, so they were kind of simpatico. They were feeding off each other, right? For that presentation. Like the way Cross has been presented on TV. Why would he follow this old man? That's the way he'd see him. Crazy old man, dangerous old man. He'd respect the old man. The old man beat him. Why would he stand next to him? Why would he follow him? Why? He's not that, you know what I mean? This is very much a character who is rooted in nihilism. And he hides behind the justification of supporting, the violence and the division that he creates, creating fear. He justifies that by trying to convince others that nothing matters, this is all going to end. He's promoting nihilism. So for him, you take that character, you'd have to dial him back, water him down, and remove him from the identity that's been established in order to get him to stand next to somebody else's idea and run with that, Where the character is right now, I wouldn't want to do that. And sure, realKILLERkross and KILLERkross are somewhat different. They're not that entirely different. But I don't see how it would work. I'd have to make the character subordinate. And he's not, He's really not. Cerberus blood, looking big as fuck, my man. Keep eating those steaks. I will. My neck is getting bigger too. I found a neck machine at a new gym I joined here in Orlando. So I can put the pad on the back of my neck, and there's like resistance plates, and I can put it on the front, and I can do side to side neck flexors. This shit's important. Hitting the canvas like that. You gotta train that shit. I'm back to doing compound lifting right now. Lots of chin-ups, a little bit of bench, deadlifts, military overhead press, squats, deadlifts, and then for secondary muscles, I'm doing cable stuff and a lot of jiu-jitsu to stay mobile. You're fucking useless in the ring if you're just a weightlifter, so. Donna, don't make eggs. That's a great name. Can you do the rest of the cast in the voice of Jesse Ventura? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that? Kilgore9, who's the best worker you've ever been in the ring with, in your opinion? Oh, fuck. I mean, I've been in the ring with Cesaro, Ziggler, Finn, Suzuki. Honestly, I'd put Eddie Edwards in that category too. I know in terms of being famous, maybe people wouldn't perceive him to be, on the fame level, but like, for ring IQ, I won't say who, but he's actually fucking, in my opinion, ahead of a few of those people. All of those people that I mentioned are fucking masterclass. Been in the ring with Shane Douglas, Dreamer. I've been in the ring with a lot of former world champions. Very wealthy people, very successful people. It's really hard to say, You have to ask the question, what makes a good worker? Is it their ability to draw a whole fucking house full of people, 50,000 people? Is it their ability, to execute clean moves? I mean, little kids can do that in a king-size bed. Is it their ability to draw a pay-per-view viewership, or their ability to elevate wrestling to be interesting enough to funnel into the mainstream to create new fans? What does all that mean? What makes a good worker? Not to convolute the question, it's just my mind automatically goes there. To me, what makes a good worker is someone who can make you guys give a fuck about what they're doing in the ring. So whether that's Blue Meanie or the Dynamite Kid, two vastly different fucking people. The best worker I've ever been in the ring with. I don't know, but I can tell you I've been very privileged to be in the ring with some pretty fucking amazing people. All the people I mentioned, all incredible. Moxley was another one. There's been a lot. Prop, I killed Morgott, and then there's another guy behind him, Godric. I got him too. Godric was like the big deal. And I got some sort of fucking thing from Godric that I was supposed to take to the round table, and then I can turn that into a shield or a sword or something. I can't remember what the hell I did with it. You could turn into a dragon arm or something. I don't think I've done it yet. But yeah, I got him. Apparently everyone was like having meltdowns trying to kill that guy. I killed him on the first try. He was dead. I just stayed back. I summoned those little spirit dogs, the wolves, and then I summoned some other guy to throw shit at him, summoning station or something, and then I just threw magic shit at him. There were 3 cutscenes, and then he was dead, I think. I would just stay behind him while other things distracted him, and I would just hit him as hard as I could with the right trigger, I think. You hold the button down. Yeah. I thought he was fucking easy. I think sometimes people, where I run into problems playing Elden Ring was trying to rush through shit because I knew I needed to go. There's a phone call, I have to have a fucking Zoom meeting, or I got to go to the gym, or I have to catch a flight or something. When I begin to rush when I'm playing the game is when I begin to play like an asshole, and then I get killed. But like, if you have time set aside to take your time to kill these fucking guys, it's not as hard as it seems to be sometimes, I find. But yeah, then there's sometimes where you travel a little too far into places you're not supposed to be in, and then you're fucked. So. Prop was saying he's a blowhard in the lore, talks a big game, but he's the weakest out of the lords. Well, that's why I killed him so easy then. Good to know. So the rest of them are all miserable. Stress Jachilles, hopefully I said that correctly, says, I got the Vertical Diet book after you mentioned it. Appreciate it, brother. Awesome. I hope you enjoy. As I told you, when I jumped on the Vertical Diet, my intention was to recover from the shoulder injury, and I wanted to put on some muscle. I did both, but be careful, because if your intention is you want to fucking grow and you want to stay away from low FODMAP type foods that bloat you, I mean, you will, but I got so big so quick, I was like, I had to scale it back. So just watch your white rice carb intake. That's my only personal advice, but everything in the Vertical Diet works. It was pretty awesome. Gemini Assassin, any funny stories with Ethan Page? He's killing it right now in AEW. I don't have any specific funny stories with Ethan Page per se, but anytime him and I are around each other, we're always finding tons of shit to laugh about. His positive energy and his sense of humor is infectious to everybody around him. Him and I have always gotten along, always found shit to laugh about. He has looked out for me in ways that I will probably never be able to, and nor do I need to talk about, like professionally and personally. He's a fucking good dude. Loves his family, loves his daughter, loves wrestling, and he's one of those people, me personally, I am so fucking happy that he wound up getting a contract and is on television, because a lot of people don't realize, like a lot of people discovered him in Impact and a lot of people discovered him on AEW, but like people don't realize how much time he's put into this. He is so deserving of the position he's in right now, and I think he is not even like hit his prime yet, and he's fucking killing it. So, Ethan Page, a good man. Pretty Richie's here. He's late, but that's all right. That's all right. All that matters is that you're here. No need to apologize. Welcome back. Nicole wants to know, when's the next time you're coming out to Brooklyn for wrestling? Not sure, but I am definitely interested in getting back there. Brooklyn has been very good to me. It's been a good crowd. New York in general, the crowds there have always been really fucking good to me. Anytime I've ever gone, anywhere I've ever been, it's a good crowd. Same with Jersey as well. Connecticut crowd was fucking awesome too for NEW. The whole East Coast and the New England area, all really good. Nicole says that was an amazing match between you and Janela this past Friday night. WrestlePro, thank you. WrestlePro is a fucking good audience, man. Good audience. Sammy wants to know what's one movie you can watch over and over and never get tired of. Tim Burton's Batman. I probably have watched over 1,000 times. Alan wants to know when's the next time you're going to be up in the Northeast. Seriously hope to meet you one day, and if I can do so while you're up my direction, that'd be awesome. I don't know if you consider it Northeast, but I'll be in Philly for New Japan at the 2300 Arena on the 15th. More Northeast than that. Off the top of my head, I don't know, but I'll keep you guys posted on on my travel schedule as I am able to, because some of the dates still haven't been announced by companies that have picked me up for their shows. Achilles wants to know, as someone who loves the idea of reading and wants to read and even tries, but has a wandering mind, what advice would you give? It's so difficult for me to focus. I'll be thinking of things as I'm reading and nothing sticks. That was literally me for the first 20 years of my life. I struggled with that actually. Through elementary school and high school, I would be reading, whether it be textbook or a novel or even recreational interest. Yeah, and like you wind up just like not being able to retain anything that you're reading. I would imagine that's more common than we think, but it's not something none of us ever really talk about. I'm trying to think about how I got over that. I don't know if I have. I kind of cut myself off from my recreational reading beyond 2 chapters. Like I could sit and read a whole fucking book. I'm not going to remember 3/4 of it though. I think 2 chapters is where I have to stop reading. Specifically for me, because I've been able to identify that, as I was telling you guys at the beginning of the stream, like I am choosing to be involved with a lot of different things, and I can't help but think about those things. So perhaps that's what you've got going on. Maybe you're very busy, or you have a lot of other things that you want to be involved with aside from reading the book. You got to cut yourself off and give your mind sort of a break. You may also be fucking tired. You may also have central nervous system fatigue, which might be from stress, might be from working, might be from poor sleep, you might be dehydrated, you might have a lack of macronutrients. There's a variety of different reasons why you might not be able to have the attention to retain for reading during long bouts, or it might not be any of those. But for the sake of your own enjoyment from the literature that you're reading, if you can afford to, cut yourself off after 2 chapters. And then if you feel like you can continue reading more, like after you take an hour break or something, see if you can get 1 more chapter in. But I notice when I try to rip through books, the same thing happens to me. Compilator wants to know, with the continuing normalization of intergender wrestling and some wrestling couples diving into it as well, would you and Scarlett ever work a match against each other? I actually suggested that we work a match against each other on the indies before we got signed to TV. And she just laughed it off. She's like, "You'd kill me." And I was like, yes. There's a way to do any match with anybody. In Lucha Underground, I wrestled Mascarita Sagrada. I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. Drew McIntyre wrestled him in WWE, and he beat Drew. And he also beat me as well in Lucha Underground. He's just really fucking good. I put him over with a satellite crippler crossface. I just shot him off. It was fun. Anyways, it was fucking awesome. There's a way to do a match with anybody. Would we be open to it? I don't know if she'd be open to it. I am. So there's a way intellectually and tastefully to do stuff like that. It's my opinion. Pretty Richie says, gotta get you versus Big Damo. Well, I'm sure that'll happen at some point. And wanted to know, have I ever had a chance to wrestle Loki? We were supposed to wrestle in Australia like 2.5 years ago, but I got signed. So I contractually had to bail out of the date, unfortunately. But that was gonna happen a few years ago. Luke wants to know, how much can you deadlift? I don't know, but I have tried to deadlift. Well, I have successfully deadlifted 505, but I haven't bothered trying to deadlift over 505 pounds because I just don't think it's necessary. And I've always had this healthy phobia that when you begin to lift that fucking heavy, even though I feel strong and I feel stable, I'm wondering if something involuntarily might pop or snap or blow off the bone. And if I got injured doing something like that, which isn't even necessary for me to do to perform in the ring, I would feel like a fucking asshole. And it would take me out of the ring for probably 12 months. So I don't bother. But 505 pounds was the most I deadlifted, and that was just a couple months ago. And I was like, oh, that's cool. I can do it. Not doing that again. And I haven't. So typically, I'll deadlift 265 or 300 for reps, just so my body and my mind, they know that I can throw another human being my size or heavier for reps. And it will never be a problem when I'm in the ring. I've always tried to lift weights around what I'm going to be doing sport specifically to people. That's the way I've chosen to train. I've kind of taken that sort of scientific approach. Some people train for aesthetics, some people train for strength or power, or they're trying to get bigger. It depends what I want to do that week, but if I know I'm supposed to be training and I'm not sure what I should do, I will always take a practical approach and be like, who am I wrestling this weekend? Keith Lee. How much is Keith? I don't know. He's definitely over 300 pounds though. Okay. I'll deadlift 400 today for 10 sets. I don't know, 3 to 5 reps. Just so I know when I'm in the ring with Keith that if I need to throw him, I'll be able to, and there's no issues. I go into that match knowing that I'll be able to deal with his weight in the ring, right? Just giving an example, just a random example. I never have to worry if whether or not, if I need to suplex somebody, if I'm gonna be able to pick him up. I always fucking know I'll be able to pick him up because I take that approach when I'm training. Siphon 81, if you could wrestle any deceased wrestler, who would you wrestle? Eddie Guerrero. Pretty Richie said you hear EA is coming out with a Lord of the Rings game. No. That'll probably be nuts. Tricks, thank you very much. Wave Avenue, welcome. It's going very well. Thank you for asking. Pretty Richie wants to know, you and the Blade ever work? I hear he's one of the best wrestlers around. He just never gets the credit. We have never worked before. I've heard the same thing, and I think the same thing too. It's another guy who's been around for a very long time. Yeah, he's fucking solid. We've never worked before though. Kilgore says, seems a lot of folks at the meet and greet ask you to put them in a hold, etc. Seems like some folks can get a little bit cringy with their requests. Have you ever have to just ask folks to chill? I think there was a clip of some dude with his arms wrapped around you for a prolonged period. You look pretty uncomfortable. It wasn't me. That happens to a lot of the women, unfortunately. I haven't had to ask anybody to chill in a long time, but I did get women asking me to do stuff to them that I shouldn't be fucking doing at autograph signings. But that hasn't happened in a long time. When her and I became a public item, that wasn't happening anymore. But when before her I started dating, you know, some people were like I before I did this Twitch, you know, no one knew I was like this. The only time they'd ever see me is when they see the character, which is not me at all, by design. So it was a little weird when, you know, like you would meet people and they'd talk to you like the person you're playing on TV because they don't know any different. And it was even stranger to me when I would meet people who were attracted to the character that I was playing on TV and kind of speak to you from that place. That was a little fucking weird. That was a little weird. You guys knowing how I am on here, you know, it's weird. It's funny, but it's weird. But I had a lot of strange, inappropriate requests from people to have KILLERkross do stuff to them that he never did, that he was never going to do. That was weird. And funny, but it was weird. But I haven't had any sort of negative or inappropriate interactions with fans. Like, I don't think ever. Just sometimes people find out that, you know, they have this idea or fantasy or something that they want you to do, and you're not going to do it. And, you know, you just try to be cool about it. Luke wants to know, when will you be going back to being bald? If an opportunity arises where a company wants me to reprise that version of the character, I'd happily do it. For you guys, sure. But for right now, I don't personally feel like it's necessary. But to bring that character back to life, that version, I'd happily do it. Again, if the story was meaningful and it made sense and it was something I was interested in bringing to life for you guys, and I knew that you would enjoy it, and it's not just going to be some bullshit thing that they're going to throw together that has no direction, I'd go back to doing that whenever necessary. Trix wants to know, how's your movie going? The movie got fucking pushed back to November, and I'm pretty devastated about it. I'm pretty fucking upset. I'm pretty pissed. Apparently, for film and television, this is very normal. Stuff gets pushed back all the time. I'm really bummed out about it. But I'm also very busy. So I'm not really at a loss, but I was looking forward to doing that. And I really fucking hope they pull the trigger on it in November. because the script is awesome. The script is fucking awesome. And if we can shoot that and knock that out in 3 months, at least my parts, that's what I was scheduled to do. It was 3 months on set. And I had the weekends off. I would have been able to wrestle on the weekends too. I had like a fucking awesome deal worked out. I'd be in New Mexico shooting basically Monday to Thursday, and then I'd have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. I can tell you that. That's not a big deal. But yeah, I hope that we can follow through with it in November. Scarlet Fan says, it's great to see you on this platform talking to fans. Well, thanks for jumping on. If you weren't here, I wouldn't be doing it. So, back at you. Luke says, have you ever had a wrestling fan call you by your real name at a wrestling event? Not in a long time. When I wrestled with Kevin Cross, it happens all the time, right? But I haven't, no. And it's always a little weird, to be honest. Like, it's always a little weird. Like, if it was weird back then for me, right? Because, you know, a lot of you I haven't met. So, like, put yourself in my shoes. If you had people that you've never seen before, and you never talked to before, coming up to you and talking to you as if they've known you forever. In a way, they kind of have. But you haven't had a chance to meet them yet. It's a weird displacement. It's just I'm not saying it's bad. It's just unusual. Like, you wouldn't really know how to like just be, you know, in that sort of situation until you're in it. But like somebody calling you Carrion or Killer or Cross or something like that, that's like oddly enough, I'm more comfortable with that. Unless I actually have like a serious personal rapport, right? Like, I know these people, I've met them and I've seen them, or like, you know, some regular fans that I've known for years call me Kevin. That's not unusual. Like, people that I've actually met that I talk to all the time, or they send me live videos and stuff like that. I've built like friendships with complete stranger fans where I actually do occasionally talk to them. And it's been that way for years. And it started from like when I was trying to be seen by more of you, before I was on television, they would film stuff in the ring, like good videos, good pictures and stuff like that, posted online. And I would retweet it or repost it. And I would privately message and say, hey, thank you so much. Like, having good footage like this, sometimes when the show doesn't have the budget or the ability to record it on a roaming camera and upload it online, it actually really helps me get my work out there so people can actually decide whether or not they'd like to see me perform. So thank you. And then, you know, they were just supportive of me and being like, hey, we believe in you. You one day will be on TV and we're fucking positive. And that sort of support to an indie wrestler, when it's genuine like that, it really goes a long fucking way. Because, you know, not literally, I mean, for some maybe literally, but like to a degree, we're out there killing ourselves to put on a good show, right? So when people really show that separation, that difference, that extra level of commitment to really being behind you, it means a lot to us, you know? So I've developed like legitimate friendships with people over the years who were just fans, who were just supportive, and then we've kind of like gotten to know each other. That's always been cool. You know. Richie, the curls are on point. I was telling him the Frank Mir thing. I go to like a few Hispanic, like Latin restaurants and like supermarkets in Florida every once in a while, and now it's very obvious to everyone that I'm Hispanic, and they always ask now. I told them my grandfather was from Old San Juan in Puerto Rico. But prior to that, they just thought I was like an angry white guy when I had the shaved head. I always laugh. The way people respond to you based on the way your hair looks is, or lack thereof, is very different. It's very funny. We've talked about that. It's funny shit. Nanner's saying, I would like to say thank you for being you and letting us into you. You're welcome. Now you're a part of me. Hey, listen, we are all Venom. We're all just one big symbiote. No, man, I appreciate you guys coming on here, and the amount of people that we've all been able to kind of like cultivate together doing this, I think is pretty fucking cool. Like this is exactly what I wanted to cultivate, not even being entirely sure what I wanted to cultivate when I started doing this. Like at the very least an hour of something like this, where I knew that I would be like providing something that could be potentially entertaining or meaningful to some people. It doesn't have to be a million people watching. I don't need to be making, $500 fucking million doing this. It's like it's not what it's about to me, And like for some people, that's totally okay if that's what they're aiming for, but like I've said it before, this is as much good for me as it is for some people that are on here. I think this is fucking good. This is like good for all of us, I think. Even if it's for a little while. There's so much bullshit, no matter where you live, no matter how old you are, no matter where you're from, no matter what walk of life you're in, if you're on here right now or you're listening to this, there's so much bullshit that all of us are going to intercept during the week. At the very least, we had this. We had this week. We can't say, no matter what happens for the rest of the week, that we didn't have a little bit of fucking peace in our lives and maybe chuckle a little bit or learn something or think about something or reframe a perspective for just a little while. That's what this is. That's what this fucking health hour is. It's an opportunity to reframe some of our perspectives to improve our mental state or physical state or spiritual state. That's what it is. It doesn't have to be super serious. It doesn't have to be super informative. It doesn't have to be super entertaining, but it can cover all of those bases just a little bit. We are securing that every fucking person that gets on here and is able to listen to this is not going to have a completely shit week. At least 1% of the week will not be shit. If you have an atomically negative apocalyptic week, at least the little bit of time that we got to spend together and chat with each other during this was not negative or weird or off-putting, And on that note, the Pretty Richie says, I need you in a horror film soon. Me too. Me too. Matthew Sawyers, 4444, wants to know, do you think having Scarlett with you on the main roster would have changed how your main roster run turned out? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I haven't said this in a long time. I honestly don't live in this place. I don't really spend any time thinking about it, but I do get asked these types of questions a lot because I'm meeting new fans in person for the first time. So that'll be the only time I talk about it. I've said it before, I'm disappointed about the way things have turned out, but you gotta adapt. And you gotta live in the present moment and not lose sight of the things that you should be grateful for, So I don't want to come off salty when I say this. I just wanted to kind of frame things in that light, but I can tell you with an intuitive certainty that, and I'm sure you guys could fucking see it when you were watching, I was set up to fail. And that seemed pretty fucking obvious. It felt obvious. I think there were opportunities to succeed, but those opportunities, it was kind of like playing cards at the fixed house. You might draw the one card of the whole fucking deck, but the deck is kind of fixed to be in the house's favor. And I stayed the course. I never gave up, never asked for my release, never bitched or complained, never dragged my feet. I focused on the opportunity that was available because that's what I was contractually obligated to do, and that's just who I am as a fucking man, as a person. I'm gonna try my absolute best to squeeze water out of that stone. Even if it's next to impossible, I'm still gonna fucking try. But there was what it felt like to me was there was a course charted to go off of a fucking cliff. The entire character presentation was carved out of stone. It was perfect. There was no need to reinvent it or deduct things from it. There was no need to experiment with it. The audience knew who he was, what he was supposed to be. I had written like introductory 3-body paragraph and conclusion character analysis academic reports on who the character was, literally broke him down, pros and cons, how he could be utilized, functionality in a narrative program, and how the character could be monetized for company revenue on a quarterly basis. I don't think many people do that, but I did. And when you have that much information and you have the ability to utilize all of that with a person who is very enthusiastic about hitting home runs and being a return as an investment to the company, and that still happens to them, it very much, living through that, felt like it was by design. And I have no interest in hypothesizing why that was done, because, you know, it's May 2022. And the life that I have, the people that I have in it, the people I care about, people are praying for the life that I have right now. And while it might not be a contracted WWE superstar performing in front of millions of people every single week, globally watched, I have a wonderful life, and I'm very grateful for it. I have my health right now. Everyone in my family is very healthy, thank God. I have a beautiful wife who's very healthy, and we're very happy together, and I have a fucking awesome fan base. I mean, a lot of people don't have one of those fucking things. So when you ask me if I think that it would have made a difference, no, not at all. Because she was not the determining factor of whether or not that character would succeed or not. I don't know if you guys ever observe it like this, but when you're watching commercialized wrestling, what I mean by commercialized is wrestling on television, subconsciously you are told what to care about in the show. You're not exactly told to care about everything. Televised wrestling has a way of not blatantly spelling it out to you, what is the most important part of the show versus another part, but they do tell you what you should be caring about, and they don't tell you not to care about something, but they tell you what to care about. And subconsciously you will be more interested in paying attention to the details of one thing versus another. And so if there's a bunch of matches with stories, whether it's short-term booking, mid-term booking, or long-term booking, there's continuity of one thing from last week to the other, you will care more about that stuff, and it will feel more important to you than a cold match where there's no angle, no heat, and it's extremely short. So you can put a guy in a winning streak of 7 matches in a row, killing people clean. But if there's no fucking story, and you're not sure if he's a good guy or a bad guy, and you have no context of his character whatsoever because there's no continuity of anything he's doing, those segments are designed to fail. And there's no way anyone would ever be able to convince me that was accidental, because this is the place that wrote the playbook on how to create importance and stars and inventing the formula for eliciting an emotional response out of an audience live and through the television. I do not believe, me personally, I don't believe that accidents like that happen. especially consistently and consecutively on a week-to-week basis. And that's just how I feel and what I believe. So I hope that makes sense. I'm just being honest. You know, not throwing shade at anybody. It's my life and I lived through it, and it's the fucking truth. Hey Richie, I don't care if people call me Kevin or Kev on here whatsoever at all. You guys can call me whatever you want. You can call me Jesse the Body Ventura on here if you want. That's different. It's in-person shit. It's a little, you know, it's just a little strange. That's all. You know, I wouldn't get fucking mad. Kilgore wants to know thoughts on your work with Holiday, and is there going to be anything further with you guys in the near future? I thought there was a lot of interesting symmetry between the two characters that is intriguing and money. I would wrestle Richard Holiday 7 days a week if I was able to. He is another guy who's probably one of the best professional wrestlers that are out there that doesn't get enough credit. He has the fucking balls and the self-awareness and sense of self to be someone who is strong enough to go out there and be truly hated by the audience. There's a lot of guys that are, you know, they'll pretend like they're going out to be the biggest and the baddest, but they are fucking terrified of being hated by people. They're terrified of really genuinely being booed, and they're not sure if they know the difference between good heat or go away heat. And he's not like that. He understands what the importance is of being the bad guy really is, and how unfortunately that's such a lost art. He's not someone who has like thin skin that would get shook up by, you know, going out there and being a bad guy and then people going online, you know, throwing fucking tomatoes at him, so to speak. He doesn't give a shit. He understands what he's supposed to be doing. He understands the art of what this is. And, you know, he will always have my undying fucking respect for that. There's just so many people who are not willing to do that anymore. Because I just don't think they psychologically can handle it, which is so strange to me. Because that's like what you're supposed to do as a heel. You're supposed to get the audience behind your fucking baby face. I don't understand it. I don't understand how people are not able to handle that anymore. Like, I remember being a little kid, like 6 or 7 years old, and our school took us to a play in New York City. It was Beauty and the Beast. It was a very well done play. And it's theater, you know. You guys remember Gaston? He's trying to court Belle, the whole story, and he goes up to the Beast's castle and tries to shoot him and kill him in the end of the story. So at the end of the play, everyone goes to the center stage and they take their bows, and everyone got cheered and people were hooting and hollering for all the lovable characters, and the Gaston character takes center stage and he walks up and he goes to bow, and the whole fucking place booed him. They booed louder than they fucking cheered all of the other characters that they loved. And I remember sitting in the car riding home going, holy shit. Don't these people know it's fake? And then I thought to myself, it dawned on me, even as a little kid, that guy he did his job so well. People were still so emotionally engaged with the play, even after it was over, that they couldn't separate him, the person, the actor, from the character he was playing. That's pretty fucking amazing. That's pretty impressive. Mind you, it was an audience full of children. Even still, the children knew it was a play. They walked in, there was tickets. It's not like, all right, guys, we're gonna sit in the audience, nobody fucking move. There's a real beast in the building. Whatever you do, when he's on stage talking to Belle, make sure you stay really quiet or he'll come into the audience and attack you. Like, it wasn't like that. Like, that's masterclass level shit to me. That stayed with me forever. And it hit me in waves, like differently as I got older. I revisited that memory and I thought, fuck, that guy was incredible. And I knew there was like a parallel. I was like, you know, one day when I'm going to be a wrestler, that's the fucking level of heat that I want when it's time for me to be a bad guy. Richard can get that. Adam says the lettuce looks great. Thank you. The lettuce. Just reading the comments about people who are finding useful information on here and finding it to be helpful. It's good. Honestly, that seriously makes me very happy. It really does. People meeting each other on here. It's fucking awesome. This is awesome to read. Trix wants to know, what would your ideal horror movie script or character for you to play be? I've got a fun horror movie for you guys. This would be an ideal script for me. If I could play anything in a horror movie, I would love to play a character who is somewhat endearing. The movie is called No One Lives, and I think the movie was actually produced by WWE Studios. The movie is called No One Lives. Watch the trailer for that if you haven't already seen it. It's a really fun horror movie to watch. I think Brodus Clay is in it too. Luke Evans is in it as well. I think he has the lead role in that. I would love to be in a movie like No One Lives and have the lead killer role in a film like that. I think it would be really fun to bring something like that to life for people. Nanners was saying that the suspenders and the crappy helmet killed it for him. But honestly, I think, yeah, many people did not like that. But I think that the reason they didn't like the suspenders and the helmet, aside from it looking like it was into some dominatrix shit or something, I'm not into that stuff. So when I looked at that initially, that didn't occur to me. I don't know what any of that shit looks like. That's just not my fucking, I'm not into ultra weird stuff like that. Like, I remember watching Pulp Fiction with the GIMP and I thought, holy fuck, you know, years ago. And there has been similarities and comparisons to that and Mad Max, but it wasn't really the suspenders and the helmet. Like, they're on a weird suspenders kick right now. Like, they put fucking Pete in suspenders, they put Moss in suspenders, they're putting suspenders on everybody now. But I don't know what the fucking deal is with that. I don't have anything against suspenders, I put them on too. But it wasn't the suspenders and the helmet, it was, you take a character that's already developed. The character has already been established, and for no fucking reason, you put these things on them. It wasn't the helmet and the suspenders in general, if you really think about it. If there was a reason or a narrative or a vignette as to why the character was changing his appearance to go in that direction, some sort of fucking reason, then you're like, okay, like, help me make sense of this. But that was never done. And that's like a very logical, like, I told them that they needed to do that, it was never done. So, you know, you tell me. That would be like taking Drew right now, who is, you know, the fucking, Drew McIntyre is who he is. And next week he just starts walking out to the ring with fucking a RoboCop outfit. Why the fuck is he wearing that? Why would you do that? You know what I mean? And then you put the kilt and the sword and you give it to Peter Weller. Why the fuck would you do that? If it, you know, no explanation for weeks. It's bizarre. And again, like for anyone who wasn't here, I didn't mind the outfit change. I knew it was a fucking mistake, and I expressed that, but they wanted to do it. Scarlet fan number one was saying Bobby Heenan was great at drawing heat. He was someone I mean, I've watched him since I was a little kid, but I began to actually study him when I first got into wrestling for promos. Everyone always thinks of like the wrestlers as being the best at promos, but no one ever thinks about Bobby Heenan, Jerry Lawler. This might be an odd one for people, but Andy Kaufman. Andy Kaufman wasn't like per se a full-time pro wrestler, but he had a stint in pro wrestling, and everyone knew Andy Kaufman was an actor and a comedian, but he actually convinced everyone that he was an asshole and he was really beating up women. And that whole thing was a fucking work. The whole thing. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Man on the Moon. It's a wonderful movie. But Andy Kaufman, Jerry Lawler, Jim Cornette, and Bobby Heenan. You know, no matter what your preconceived notions were of pro wrestling, whether you thought it was real or fake, or some of it was real and some of it was fake, people never questioned anything those guys said. People thought legitimately that those people were all assholes and they were really mean. And if you think about it, if they really were as awful as we thought they were, they wouldn't have jobs. Like, who the fuck would want to give that guy money and have him keep showing up every week and following around in the fucking shows, right? But I mean, you did not doubt anything that those fucking guys are saying. Another one was Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman had everybody believing that he was legitimately fucking nuts. Like, out of all of the people who are actually crazy in wrestling over the last 50 years, the one guy who wasn't had everybody 100% believing he was out of his mind. And he had that magnetic energy of being able to draw people, you know, in through a television. Never mind live. People got nervous when he came around live in the audience. Like, I've seen videos and clips of stuff with the ZCW stint. People were like, legitimately didn't know what the fuck was gonna happen when he was coming around. That's incredible. That's incredible to create a scenario like that. When so many people walk into the building to see a magic show, David Copperfield, nobody believes in magic, but they're just showing up to hyperanalyze it or ridicule it or, you know, watch it, but try to be the smart guy in the audience and try to call out everything that's happening, and they think they know exactly everything's being done. Brian Pillman walks in. Oh, Brian Pillman's the only real magician here, and he might actually make us all fucking disappear and reappear in hell. That's fucking amazing. That's amazing. Those guys, to me, were... They could do something that, like, you cannot teach people how to do shit like that. That has to be in you. You have to really understand who you are. You have to understand people really well. And you have to understand what people see when they look at you and know what to do with that. You can't go to wrestling school to learn that. The Gemini Assassin, favorite gear you ever worn in your entire career? Honestly, the black gladiator garb in NXT before the suspenders and helmet was my favorite thing I've ever worn. I've always wanted to have something quality crafted like that gladiatoria feel, and just beat the fucking shit out of people with that on. Like nobody else is getting beating people up. But I wanted to wait until it was the right time in my career, and I wanted to find the right seamstress to do it. That was my favorite I've ever worn. And I don't keep a lot of stuff from my career. I did in the beginning, but I noticed I never picked it up and looked at it ever again. I kept stuff for years, and I was like, this is collecting dust. I thought one day it might be really important to me, but years have gone by now, and I don't give a fuck. It's like Facebook. I thought I was going to care about all these pictures from my early 20s and my late teens. I don't give a fuck about any of that. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I deleted my whole personal Facebook like many years ago. I was like, I thought this was going to be more important to me. It's totally not. Like, I got suckered into believing that there was a greater sense of importance to these things. They're not important to me. These digital photos. I do like picture books though, like taking old school photos of like your family and holidays and stuff like that. That's far more important to me. But like going out to a fucking so shitty bar with overpriced drinks with your fucking friends and some of these people you haven't seen in years, and they weren't even really that fucking great to begin with. Like, when you're growing up, like that never held any sort of importance to me. And at the time we were like, oh, this picture's gonna last forever. Bullshit. But that gear, I'm keeping that. You never know, I might need it again. Scarlet fan said, I could have seen it working if your face was injured, but otherwise it made no sense. I pitched to the writers because I was trying to make it make sense, because I was like, everyone was terrified to fucking tell Vince it was a bad idea, even though they all agreed with me, and that's the truth. None of us thought it was a good idea. I told them that I wanted to do a vignette or a promo talking about why I put it on, and I had suggested that maybe I could cut some sort of vignette or promo where I talk about how it's the only time, when I put that mask on, it's the only time that the screaming stops. Like, to cut some sort of cryptic promo like that, where the character insinuates that whenever he has that helmet on, things are quiet and he can rest and focus and concentrate, but when he takes it off, he becomes unhinged. And I thought that was the closest thing we're gonna get to making that make sense. And like, oh, that's a great idea. Okay, can we shoot it next week? Let me find out next week. You're on main event. You're beating Ricochet again for the third time. Why? Well, because that's what they want. Okay. Sure. It'll be a barn burner. I mean, it was just fucking bizarre. I respect you, Booker Man. Roddy Piper was another one. Yes, Scarlet fan. Roddy Piper was a fucking, even his stuff pre-WWE, when he was wrestling in all of like the territories and stuff like that, his promos, he was always on point. I feel like when I listened to him talking, always spoke from a real place. Whether it was a work or it was scripted, he took something that happened to him, or he put himself in a place where it was real and he spoke from there. And that was something I always tried to do as well. Speak from some place that you believe in, even if, it's not really happening. Put yourself in a place where, had it happened, where would you be coming from? I picked it up from a workshop that Anthony Hopkins did, an acting workshop. He was talking about that type of stuff. Pretty Rich wants to know, you watched Dark Side of the Ring, Brian Pillman episode, amazing. I know Brian Pillman Jr. He's a very close friend of mine, and I've never watched Dark Side of the Ring because it hits a little too fucking close to home for me. I just can't emotionally handle watching it. It's makes me so fucking sad watching it. I tried to put on that episode because Pillman was one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, and then when I saw Brian Jr., like his son crying, I had to turn it off. I got fucking really choked up, and I texted him. I was like, this is just not for me. And I'm very much not a crier. And just seeing how fucking upset he was on TV, I was like, hey, I don't want to see this. Prince AJ Clark, when you were NXT champion, who was your favorite opponent and who would you have loved to have defended against? Favorite opponent, forever and always will be Finn Balor. And who would I have loved to have defended against? Honestly, a singles match with Adam Cole I think would have been really fucking good. I think we could have got some Psycho Sid Shawn Michaels vibes. That was the intention I had conveyed to him when we began working together with when we were building towards the Five-Way before I left. And it's a shame that we never got there. I thought for sure we would have, and I thought it was really fucking weird that we never did. Like there was a series of times I was told that him and I were going to be working together, and it just never fucking happened. It was very weird. It was really weird. But I was looking forward to it. It never happened. Working with Dexter Lumis would have been fucking awesome. We could have did our cinematic match as a blow-off, like a horror movie thing where we're fighting, in a fucking boiler room setting like Nightmare on Elm Street. A singles with Kyle would have been good. A singles with Pete Dunne would have been really good. I was very happy that I got my singles with Gargano. It was one of the best ever. Really happy I worked Theory. He's a good friend of mine. I knew we were going to have instant chemistry right away. Yeah. Swerve would have been very good. I agree, Richie. Adams Ticks says that back and forth you had with Cole in the ring was the best. That was a weird day. That was a fucking weird day. I said this before, but I got the script for that promo that we did the night before, and it felt like it was unfinished, which sometimes would happen. Like you'd be given sort of like a guideline as to what they wanted one person to say and what you wanted to say and how they wanted it closed off and how it would support the direction of the show and next week. And I just automatically assumed it was like, oh, they'll just let me fill in the blanks. Because they very much did. When I was doing live promos, they just let me go because they knew I could. I had demonstrated that. So I had that trust and flexibility, which is really fucking important for, at least for me, for my performance. I know how the character would respond. I was like, this is definitely not how the character would respond. So I'm assuming it's unfinished. So I got in there, and they're like, oh, we really want this to feel like a shoot. I was like, yeah, I totally got that. It's like very ECW vibes, breaking the fourth wall. I was like, I have some really good fourth wall breaks that I'd like to reciprocate back. And they were like, oh, like what? And so I told them. And they were like, that's pretty harsh. And I was like, you guys wrote this to be harsh. What are you talking about? What would you like me to say? And they're like, well, we like if, he looks really strong in this, maybe you don't say anything back. And I was like, really? That doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't they just kill him? And they're like, well, we would just like him to look really strong in this. I was like, okay. And they're like, listen, you're going to the pay-per-view and you're gonna kill all of these guys clean. You're like one of the only heels we have where you don't need to cheat to win. We give you clean kills. It would be like in poor taste if you just emasculate these guys in the promos all fucking month and then you kill them clean at the pay-per-view. It's like you're really taking the wind out of these guys. It's not good for their equity, and you just don't need it. You really don't need it. And so I was like, okay, well, that's fine. That makes sense. That's a totally logical argument. But you guys do understand the way you've written this forum. You guys have invested a lot of money into the airtime and the production and the entrance presentation. You guys are kind of shooting your own investment in the head by having him make fun of, or not make fun of, but like to poke a hole through the character presentation of the lights and the mirror and the smoke and the car. I was like, you guys didn't give me that car. I bought that car. I've owned that car since 2014. I wish you bought me the fucking car. That's my fucking car, and I'm marrying her, which wasn't given to me. It's a little bit out of context. I'm like, well, you know, we really like him to say it. I'm like, okay, they really want him to say it. It's okay. Let him fucking say it. But I just thought it was weird because for all of that, and it's just like, they wanted it written that way, and they wanted it delivered that way. And I just thought that it actually took the piss out of this amazing presentation we created. And it's like, if you want to break the fourth wall, that's always fun and that's cool, and that's a wrestling tradition. You always get a reaction out of that. But not allowing the other person to break the fourth wall back seems odd, you know? It was weird, but at the same time, we accomplished what we needed to accomplish, which was to get people to believe. And so I did my best to be as off-put as they needed me to. And people bought it. People thought it was real for a very long time. And we tried to protect that as much as we could. And it was funny because, as I had said before too, like, Cole was so funny about it. He like asked me permission if he could say that stuff. I was like, dude, of course. I was like, just read the fucking paper. Like, it's all good. He was super professional, super cool about it. But where I think we could have taken it versus where they stopped it at, we could have gotten so much more out of that time. But that's what they wanted to be done, and then we went onto the five-way, and sure enough, they had me fucking smoke everybody. But we could have, you know, we could have gotten more out of that. I wish we did, but you still remember it and you enjoyed it, so hey, fuck, mission accomplished, right? Scarlett Fan 1, besides Scarlett as a manager, who would you like to have had in the past to manage you? I could see Heenan, Fuji, or Blassie using you well. Thank you, that's a fucking high compliment. Any three of those guys would have been awesome. I've always been a Paul Heyman guy, admittedly, and he knows that. Heyman would have been great. Maybe when Scarlett's raising Cross Jr. Never know. Oh, she'd love that. Alan wrote in the note, says, dare I say Scarlett could be a modern day Luna Vachon. She did a couple callbacks to Luna with some of her outfits in NXT. It's so awesome that you said that. She watched Luna, Sherry, Alundra Blaze. There's more, but those are the three that I always remember that she was watching. I'm starting to get hungry. Haven't had dinner yet. I should probably eat. Thank you for your patience. Last week was fucking crazy with travel and whatnot. I wanted to jump on here tonight, as tired as I was, and get some time with you guys. The 15th of this month is going to be in Philadelphia with New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'll be there. Keep an eye on it. I have to massacre this guy. Tune in. Let me know what you think. And aside from all that, I hope you all have been well and continue to be well. Thank you for jumping on here with me tonight. Hope you guys had fun. Hope you were entertained. You learned something. You got to think about something. Thank you for all the compliments on the lettuce. And I will catch you guys next time. I'll keep you posted as to what day I can jump back on here next week on Twitter. I don't want to call it the day yet because I've done that a couple times now and I haven't followed through on it, so I don't want to do that. But I'll give you guys the heads up on on Twitter if I'm absolutely certain I can make the time. But it will be 11:15 p.m. whatever day we do it. It'll be in this time zone, this sort of fucking span of shit. So again, thank you very much for joining me tonight, guys. Until next time.